Hello and welcome to Maqala Foresight, and this is Mikhail Mnase, producer and host of the show. Our guest today is Ambassador Wondimu Asamnew. He is the Director General of Tigray Friendship Liaison Office. Ambassador Wondimu, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, what do you read in the timing of the visit of President Esayas Afwerki in Ethiopia?
Of course, what I can say is that the visit is not timely. It didn't come on the right time because the country is in shambles. There are many problems, challenges that the leader should attend to. But when leadership is needed to address all the multifaceted problems of the country, it's very sad to see the person who claims to be a leader enjoying his time with a suspicious friend, you see. Otherwise, the country is now crying for leadership. Among other things, you can see what is happening to our peasants. We have a locust invasion unprecedented in recent memory. And everyone, Ethiopians and non-Ethiopians alike, are touched by the misery, by the harm the locust has caused to their plants and so on. And everyone is mobilized trying to help. And when you see a leader appearing indifferent to the agonies of his own people, a lot of questions come to mind. Is he really caring about the well-being of his own people? So I think when he hosts a leader, it's a time-consuming exercise. Okay, that's why timing of state visit is carefully planned. So at this point in time, the scene is appalling. You see, people crying, praying, and mobilizing to help, and you see your leader smiling, enjoying with someone with suspicious intentions. And secondly, on the political front, you cannot ignore it. Ethiopia is in deep political and constitutional crisis. It needs to be resolved. Otherwise, the implication is not only on the democratic order, but also on the very survival of the country. But when dialogue is needed, when confidence-building measures are needed, you bring Esayas, who is a negative factor in Ethiopian politics. It rather complicates the whole attempt to resolve the problem, because he's part of the problem. He's not part of the solution. So everyone, Ethiopians and foreigners alike, are trying to do something about the crisis. The government is at war with its own people. Tigray has detached. And the Tigray factor is an elephant in the room. We cannot simply ignore it. You should do something to resolve the problem. If you really care about the country, if you really care about the united existence as a country, if you really care about Ethiopia as a united nation, you should do something about it. So I think the visit happened at the wrong time for many reasons. And you saw him enjoying in the Garden of Eden. He established, he constructed for himself before a few days. And it's appalling again, you see. And after he finished his circus in the garden, in the park, whatever you call it, and he invited again another negative factor, a skeptic, a suspicious personality for official visit. So I think he should have attended the most important issues of the nation, rather than really flirting with Esayas.
So President Esayas and Abiy Ahmed were seen visiting development projects like the Grand Renaissance Dam and also the park, of course, the Ethiopian Air Force also, and a university. Was that the main purpose of the visit of President Isaias?
I think it's a drama, you see, for public consumption, you see. Otherwise, Isaias is not known for his developmental agenda. Rather, he has really impoverished, depopulated a young and aspiring nation. And it's an insult to Eritreans who have been denied such developments for 30 years. And it's by design. He wants to rule them impoverished, weakened, and depopulated. So when you see them as if they care about development, as if they appreciate all the things the former, the defunct government, the EPRDF government accomplished, it's an insult to Eritreans and Ethiopians alike. Otherwise, the agenda is the usual agenda, the conspiratorial agenda. There are new developments in Ethiopia, as you know. The term of office of this government has come to an end before 2 weeks, I think, a week. And their political destiny is intertwined by some design, you see. So Isaias is worried about the implications of the termination of the term. Isaias is worried about the re-emergence of Tigray as a crucial factor in Ethiopian politics. Esayas and Abiy are worried about this sudden awakening of the international community about the plight of Ethiopians and the possible collapse of this country. And he had to come and lecture Abiy how to victimize, marginalize, further weaken Tigray and weaken its influence in Ethiopian politics. I think he will advise him how to further suffocate the opposition voice in Ethiopia. I think he will advise him how to perhaps, as he's a very good expert on manipulation, how to manipulate the international community in the run-up to that sham election Abiy has planned. And perhaps, unfortunately, they may trigger some kind of earth-shaking crime to divert the attention of the public. Otherwise, there is nothing benign about their relationship, about their discussion. It's not about development. It's not about peace. Otherwise, in the last 2-3 years, as you can see, nothing has changed in terms of substance, in terms of the underlying causes that trigger the conflict between Eritrea and Ethiopia. The soldiers are in their trenches. There is no normalization of relations. There is no trade. It's all about personal relationship, friendship between them. They have personalized the whole thing, you see. They have changed it into a political tool to weaken Ethiopian opposition voices and to further suffocate the Eritrean people. Otherwise, the issues are there. Borders are not demarcated. Commerce has not resumed. People-to-people relations have abruptly closed for political convenience. So I think it's not about peace. It's not about development. It's all drama, the usual drama to divert the attention of the people. But otherwise, that clip in the media, that 5 minutes, 10 minutes is totally a misleading episode. Otherwise, the major agenda must be political. The major agenda must be conspiratorial, as usual. So I think don't be misled by the appearances. There is nothing benign about the whole exercise.
Particularly his visits to the 2 places, the Grand Renaissance Dam, which he denigrated many times, that it is a white elephant done for political purposes, and also taking him to the Ethiopian Air Force, as you said, is with suspicious intentions. How did you find that?
That's the whole problem about their relationship. It's marred by secrecy, conspiracy. It's clouded in mystery, you see. Otherwise, we know what Esayas had said before about the Renaissance Dam. He was saying it's a political project to harm the Egyptians. There is nothing beneficial to the Ethiopian people. He was demeaning it for a very long time. Even he was working to stall the construction. There were many security challenges from Eritrea. He was arming some groups to destabilize the region so that the construction will not be undertaken. It was beyond rhetoric. It was beyond anti-dam propaganda. The same thing about the whole developmental achievements during the EPRDF era. He was always negative about it. But now, they all believe, of course, the rest of the world is an idiot. The rest of the world has short memory. They believe that they can easily manipulate the whole public, Ethiopians and the international community. They don't have shame, you see. Even Abiy was depicting the 27 years of the PRDF era as a dark age. But he's boasting about it. He's trying to steal the credits of the PRDF achievements. So it's all like really mafia-like manipulation of public opinion. Otherwise, their intention is, as usual, conspiratorial. In their 2 years relationship, nothing positive has come in our relationship. The whole political security situation of the region, especially of Ethiopia, has been complicated by their conspiracy. Otherwise, I can only say that they don't have shame. When they visited projects they have for long demeaned, you see.
Some say that the formation of a caretaker government, which is in the plan of the Federalist call, is radical. What do you say to that?
I think you must see the context. Since Abiy came to power, the first thing he did was starting to deconstruct the whole thing, the constitutional order, and all the policy edifice of the 27 years. And TPLF was trying to resolve all the upheavals he caused through EPRDF organizational mechanisms. But the intention of Abiy and his company was to abolish EPRDF and oust TPLF from the center. So it didn't work. The first thing was to strategy as the first phase of the conflict and the complication of the political situation in Ethiopia was an inner party resolution. It didn't work. And once TPLF was ousted from the center, from the Prosperity Party, the only thing it did was trying to resolve it from outside. And Abiy rather escalated and indefinitely cancelled the election, and we asked for a dialogue, a comprehensive dialogue with Abiy in power. But now we are in the third phase, you see. He ignored all the appeals to resolve it peacefully. Our elders, religious leaders tried. All the attempts by some quarters failed. And we now reached a red line we were really afraid of. That red line is they have crossed the constitutional term limit of the group, of the administration. What choice do we have now except to call for the formation of a caretaker government, non-partisan, so that the politicians, including the Prosperity Party, can discuss everything under the sun, you see. Otherwise, one, he has no constitutional right to govern the country. And he's not capable of resolving the problem, not only legally, but also politically. We have lost our innocence now. We have lost every bit of our trust in this government. So much has happened in the last 2.5 years. How on earth can you entrust him to organize the elections, resolve all the outstanding political constitutional problems? We must have a caretaker government, non-partisan, so that it would give the avenue for political actors to resolve the problem. Otherwise, it's not radical. It was an evolutionary development of solutions. We have presented, applied different strategies and solutions as per the changes in the political environment of the country. So the level of political degeneration we have reached demands the formation of a caretaker government, a technocratic government. So I don't think it's radical, it's appropriate. There is no better way. The only practical, constitutional perhaps, way of resolving the matter is formation of caretaker government. Otherwise, it's not the best solution, you see. But it has complicated the whole political environment that we have no any other better option. So I think people must see the environment we are talking about. We have a government with a legitimate government, and we have a complicated political problem that can only be addressed by comprehensive political dialogue.
So after the regional government of Tigray and also the federalist forces said that this government is no more legitimate, the group in power reciprocated by saying that it will not recognize the elected government, the regional government of Tigray. So where is the end?
Yeah, that's the problem. As I have told you, we have, without us wanting it, reached a point where caretaker government is a must. Otherwise, giving the right to govern this country and constitutionally is like rewarding for his illegitimate and constitutional usurpation of power, you see. So the only option we had was to ask for caretaker government. And secondly, okay, the political establishment is illegitimate, the representative bodies are illegitimate, the council of ministers are illegitimate, because they don't have the mandate of the public. But what can we do to maintain the unity and the continuity of the country as a United Nations? We said, okay, the problem we have is not in the Ethiopian state. The problem we have is in that political establishment that has rendered itself illegitimate because it has trespassed its constitutional mandate. So what we proposed was, okay, let's have a caretaker government, but the bureaucracy should continue. As you know, Michael, the concept of state has three branches. One is the political establishment that rotates, that changes every election cycle. And we have the bureaucracy. It's a professional thing, and that is the one that represents continuity of the state, of the nation, as a united one, as a united entity. So out of concern to the Ethiopian nation, out of our interest in the continuity of Ethiopia as a united nation, we said, though it is deep politicized, though it's not up to the standards of modern state, let's accept the bureaucracy, let's maintain it, but we will not recognize the political establishment. The third element is the geography, the territory, and so on. But the territory, the geography are functions of the state as expressed by government, political establishment, and the bureaucracy. So now these people overreacted. Rather than becoming ready for resolving the political constitutional problem, they further complicated it. While we are saying we don't recognize the political establishment, they also said that, no, we will not have anything to do in terms of bureaucratic relationship. Now they have demolished the second pillar of the state. What are they looking for? Rather than becoming ready, be sober, and admit that it is them who brought this constitutional political crisis. Okay, let's go to dialogue, comprehensive dialogue. Let the bureaucracy function. Let Ethiopia continue as the United Nations. But now they have again complicated the matter. This is a very dangerous measure. Tigray cannot simply be victimized by their political manipulation. We are giving all the opportunity to solve the political problem, but if they are pushing us that far, I don't know what the end will be. I cannot answer definitely that this will help the resolution of the standoff, not only with Tigray, but also with the rest of the country. So I think we did what we can. We tried for 2 years to resolve the constitutional problem, and they refused. After they trespassed that red line, we are saying, okay, we will not recognize you, we will not reward you for that illegitimate action, but we want Ethiopia. We want it to continue as the United Nations. Let's keep the bureaucracy intact and discuss all the outstanding issues in political dialogue. So I think these people are pushing the country to the cliff. And every Ethiopian who cares about Ethiopia really should say something about it, should not sit on the sidelines and watch the dangerous spectacle the Abiy has unleashed.
Your office has been communicating with the international community, notifying them of the prevailing situation that you just explained. What has been the response so far, including to the peace plan of the federalist forces?
International community is very slow when it comes to responding to crises like what we have in Ethiopia, especially when it's an African crisis. Because international relations, you know, it's not about philanthropy, it's about interests. There are very difficult issues, variables, interests involved. So we have been telling them for a very long time that this situation will deteriorate and it will endanger not only the democratic order, but also the very existence of this country. They were very slow. And finally, we reached at this level. We reached at this level. They didn't take us seriously. They didn't really listen to what we were appealing to. Please help us. Let's resolve this problem constitutionally and through peaceful dialogue. And help us. This whole system has failed to resolve the problem we have at hand. But they were very, very slow. And the same was true with the letter we wrote on this matter. The response was very slow. But when the situation was apparently clear that it's heading into a dangerous collusion, and when international media, human rights organizations, research organizations started to talk, that slow machinery of international diplomacy has started to move now. Now, members of Congress, members of the Senate are speaking out now. Even the European Union has sent a delegation last time, and they are saying what we are saying. What we have been saying for a very long time. Please resolve it through all-inclusive dialogue. That's what they're imposing on Abiy. There are quite diplomacy activities going on in the corridors of power in Addis Ababa. There are a lot of pressures of the system to be ready for all-inclusive dialogue. And I think now, if you are asking me about the response of the international community, though it's very late, now they have jumped into the bandwagon, driven by the human rights organizations, by the international media, and by the many appeals of Ethiopian international political actors at home and abroad. I can say that now we have reached a point that there is a domestic as well as an international consensus to resolve the Ethiopian constitutional political crisis, to resolve it through all-inclusive, transparent mechanisms. Otherwise, we are talking about a country of 120 million people. It will affect the whole East African region if it falls apart, you see? And then it will affect not only the people of the region, it will have an international implications. And they know it. We have written more than 10 letters regarding this matter. And they have their own security diplomatic machinery to know better about the trends. But they were very slow. And what I want to underline now is better late than never, you see? So I think now there is a need to address all the issues the federalist forces have raised. Political prisoners, political leaders must be released. You can't talk of dialogue, meaningful dialogue, without having the leaders who are in the first place supposed to negotiate, you see? You cannot put them in prison and talk about dialogue. This is sham. This is manipulation. This is meaningless. So I think political leaders must be released. And this soldiers, security force of the Eritrean government must chased out from this country. What kind of confidence can we have to sit in the middle of Addis Ababa when Eritrean security forces are roaming the country, committing so many crimes? So I think when the international community is asking for dialogue, they must take it in the whole package. We are saying dialogue when political leaders are released. We are saying dialogue when the Eritrean forces are out of the country. We are saying dialogue when the war Abiy has launched on his own people is stopped. We are saying dialogue while caretaker government is formed. Otherwise, this selecting and picking strategy will not solve the problem. We have been telling them, and now they know it don't need to be told because everything is out in public that the country is almost on the brink of collapse. So once they have engaged themselves, they must be serious about it. They must engage in such a way that it's possible to resolve the problem in a comprehensive and sustainable manner.
You talked of the forces of the Eritrean government here in Ethiopia, and it was also in the call of the federalist forces, which also includes the Tigray region. Can this be substantiated? Is there any evidence of their presence of Eritrean troops and security forces here inside the country?
There is no secret about it. We have concrete evidence to that effect. Secondly, they are acting like one country, you see. Esayas has visited the most really jealously protected security military installations in the country. They are coordinating in all aspects of their security, military and political undertakings. I may not tell you the list of the names, the number of troops, and the list of crimes they have committed, but we have concrete evidence to that effect. And all this personalized relationship, what does it really mean? Why is it kept secret? Why don't the Ethiopian people, the Eritrean people know what they are talking about, what agreements they have signed? Every time they meet, there is some kind of earth-shaking incident happening in Ethiopia. Many crimes have been committed. And Abiy looks to have studied very carefully the political guidebook of Esayas. Every single behavior of Abiy reminds of what's happening in Eritrea. They are working very, very closely. Their political destiny is intertwined. And they don't care. They don't care to answer. Have they ever answered any fundamental question about the nature of their relationship? Last time there was an ambassador annual conference, Ethiopian ambassadors, and they asked, like any other Ethiopian, and they are diplomats, they represent the Ethiopian interests abroad, they are the custodians, and they care about our security. And they asked, what's happening in our relationship with Eritrea? There is no transparency and we don't know anything about it. And do you know what the Prime Minister said? Shut up. You have nothing to do with the Eritrean file. The Eritrean file is in my hands. You simply parrot what I am telling you. You are my envoys. You are my viceroys. Don't bother about the Eritrean file. If the foreign ministry doesn't know anything, if he responded in this really insulting way to representatives of the Ethiopian state, what is he trying to hide? So there are many secrets that we know. So I think it's only the tip of the iceberg when we are talking about the troops, the security forces. There is a two-man grand political security strategy in the region, extremely frightening when Esayas is in the driving seat of Ethiopian politics. What better can he advise him if Esayas doesn't really do anything positive to his own people? Do you think he will be benign when it comes to Ethiopian affairs? So I think it's beyond security and military relationship. They have common security political agenda in the Horn of Africa. We have been talking about this agenda. They want to create the region, the Horn of Africa, in the image of Eritrea, a region without democracy, a region without development, a region where people are imprisoned in their thousands, killed mysteriously. Do we Ethiopians need our country to be reorganized in the fashion of Eritrea? I think don't be misled by their propaganda. They are coordinating their efforts first against Oyane, but already they have started it. They will organize themselves and work against Ethiopia as a nation. And we will have a region, a country that we don't know. So I think the evidences are there. So I am not ready to go to the details.
Let me go back to the diplomatic community, the international community. You said that although late, they are now pushing Abiy towards all-inclusive national dialogue. But they are also sending other mixed signals, like, that they will support his reforms. And there are those who say these mixed signals will embolden Abiy and will not drive him towards the desired national dialogue.
It's good that they came out and say that the political problem must be solved through dialogue. But they are still also saying that, okay, let him be there, but let's the dialogue be conducted under his supervision, so to speak. This doesn't work. That's what I'm saying. So the evolution of their policy change is encouraging, but it's not enough. As I have told you, their action is always very slow because it's very nature. Secondly, everyone fears the unknown, you see. The unknown here is the caretaker government. But do they have constitutional political argument support that Abiy should continue to govern this country? No, they don't have. But they are afraid of the unknown. What will happen after Abiy? What kind of political situation will appear in Ethiopia if he is gone and replaced by caretaker government? They are afraid of the unknown. But the most unfortunate thing is they are gauging us by a different standard. Do they allow a French president or an American president to overstay his term and lead a very serious process like dialogue? No. We also deserve constitutionalism. We also deserve democracy. We also deserve the respect of constitutional order. So what you are saying is they are they are in the middle now. They have come a very long way in terms of dealing with the problem. They are asking for dialogue, but it's not enough. They must see it in totality. This kind of sugarcoating and very conciliatory, non-principled approach will not solve the whole problem. Now it is Abiy on the one hand and the rest of the country on the other. They must see the facts as they are. They have not really tried to maintain their boy and at the same time solve the problem. No, it's not. I think they must see the whole situation as it is rather than trying to beautify it, decorate it, embellish it. It is a very ugly reality. It is unfortunate that we have reached this level. It's not the best option, but we have reached a very difficult, deep political crisis that demands the formation of caretaker government, that demands the tackling of the problem head on. They react to crisis rather than proactively avert it. Now the crisis will further degenerate by the doings of his own policy mistakes, and they will come and say that, okay, if he cannot govern, let's have some kind of political arrangement, transitional arrangement. I am very sure we will reach that level.
At the end of the day, it will be up to the Ethiopian people to decide, regardless of the position of the international community.
I totally agree. You cannot convince Abiy or the international community to bring peace, to resolve the problem in a comprehensive and fundamental way. We must change the balance of power at home. And it's already changed. The balance of power is in favor of the Democrats, the progressives, the federalists. And you cannot wish it away. You cannot assume it doesn't exist. It is there. It's a room, an elephant in the room now. The federalist forces, their demand, their peace plan is an elephant in the room. Unless it is to your peril, you cannot ignore it. Therefore, I think the whole thing and the fundamental thing is Ethiopians are the ones who will decide the fate of this country. We are simply asking the international community to help. Otherwise, the whole situation will degenerate into a very ugly, chaotic situation.
What do you say to those who say that you are, by engaging with the international community, acting illegally and that you are compromising Ethiopia's sovereignty?
No law, no international law, no domestic law is violated here. What did it do? What we did was, we wrote a letter. Writing a letter in contemporary diplomacy is a commonplace practice, let alone a region of 8 million people, even individuals, communities, political organizations. Appeal right to the international community, to international regional organizations, and to countries who matter. There is nothing unconstitutional about it. We didn't open an embassy abroad. We are not engaged in security and military political engagements with the rest of the world. We are simply writing a letter. And we know we are not that ignorant about the nature of the international relations. No one will allow you to open an embassy while there is an Ethiopian state, let alone Ethiopia, even Somaliland. A weak Mogadishu government is there. Out of recognition to that Mogadishu government, no one is recognizing Somaliland. So what we are doing is now write to the international community. That's what we did. Appeal to them to help us. Inform them about the gravity of the problem. Told them that we are ready to resolve the problem. Otherwise, rather than addressing the underlying problems that pushed us to write to the international community, they are accusing us. Please resolve the political and constitutional problem. Otherwise, let alone writing, the whole thing can degenerate into a different, worse level of political arrangement in this country. And what they are doing is, they stifle you, they criminalize you, they oppress you at home, they stifle your voice at home, and they want to do the same at international level. They don't want your voice to be heard internationally. They don't want the international community to know the level of gravity of the constitutional political problem in Ethiopia. So rather than really resorting to this kind of repressive approaches at home and abroad, please resolve the constitutional problem. Please address the reasons why we are writing to the international community.
And this might be related to the apprehension that Tigray is acting as a de facto state and may even secede, might have a secessionist agenda.
You see, there are all these kind of speculations, and some of them are not because of ignorance. They are part of the campaign against Tigray. Otherwise, we don't have an agenda to secede. We don't have to be theoretical now to know the preference of the Tigray people. In the recent election, absolute majority of the Tigray people chose the TPLF line. What is the TPLF line? The TPLF line is, we want a united Ethiopia. But this united Ethiopia must be democratic, must be constitutional, must be multinational. A country, Ethiopia, that denies the rights to self-government. A country that renders and assigns a second-class citizenship to certain communities cannot be sustained. So what I am saying is that as long as the constitutional order that allows our self-government is intact in Ethiopia, will be there. That's what the Tigray people say. But we should not be complacent. This is a country of Article 39. If there is no equality of rights, if there is no right to self-administration, you cannot sustain the unity of Ethiopia. That's what we are trying to restore now, through dialogue, through peaceful mechanisms of conflict resolution. Otherwise, Ethiopia is not a divine creation, okay? It is modern Ethiopia. The Ethiopia we established after 1991 is a constitutional political construct. There is a contract here, and the contract is a constitution. If you mess up with this contract, you are messing up with Ethiopian unity. So what I'm saying is, rather than blaming Tigray for protecting its right from a very arrogant, domineering political group in Addis Ababa, rather than blaming us, they should insist on respecting the constitution. They should insist on resolving the constitutional and political problems. It will further corner us. This blame game will further complicate the political problem. This blame game will further facilitate the disintegration of Ethiopia as the United Nations. So I think the Tigray people have made their choice clear. We need a democratic, a multinational constitutional country. Minus that, the country cannot sustain itself as a United Nation. So this blame game should stop and should be stopped, and let's all focus on resolving the existing problem threatening the very existence of the country, be solved through dialogue. Yeah.
Finally, is a peaceful political solution or settlement possible?
Do we have any other choice? I think Abiy has tried all the tricks, all the dictatorial tools in the book to suppress and reorganize Ethiopia in his own image. A unitarist Ethiopia, a monarchical type Ethiopia, some kind of medieval spiritual Ethiopia. He has failed. So does he have any other choice? Otherwise, the problem will degenerate as to put the unity of the country in jeopardy. And of course, the international community is also doing what it can to convince him. This gives you some encouraging signs that peaceful resolution is possible. But there is also another danger. Abiy's concept of politics is not democratic. You see, in democracy, you presuppose that every citizen is equal. But this guy considers himself as anointed, preordained to rule the country. And it's very, very difficult to have democratic, open conversation and solve your problems in a very democratic and lawful way. This is one minus in terms of the possibility of peaceful resolution. The other thing is Abiy is boxed in his own predicament, you see. So much has happened in the last 2.5 years. Mysterious political assassinations, displacements, conspiracies. And they may fear accountability, you see, when everything is open. Of course, the federalist forces have asked for an independent investigation, not only of Abiy's period, but also of the 27 years of EPRDF period. I don't think they are confident enough of their record to allow that. EPRDF, the old EPRDF, is ready. Okay, I may have made some mistakes, but it was not done in a conspiratorial way. We didn't commit treason by coordinating with a foreign army and a country to destabilize the country. We were not engaged in high-level political assassinations, high-level corruption. They are confident, I can tell you. But I am not very sure whether Abiy will be ready for his record to be investigated by an independent body and the reports to be made public to the Ethiopian people. I don't think this is another minus in terms of the possibility. And perhaps finally, you see, a new normal has been created by Abiy and his company. You see, now we are not only in a political crisis, we are also in a moral crisis. And the nature of our relationship is changed. They have manipulated it for political purposes. And I think opportunism, white lie, has become the order of the time. And this kind of behavior in leadership has really destroyed the level of trust between the political actors. Now, who really believes Abiy? His white lies, his fabricated stories, his mysterious secretive dealings, and all this have really created a deep sense of mistrust between the political parties. And I can tell you, we have lost our innocence. How on earth can we trust him? These kind of factors will make peaceful resolution of the conflict difficult. But when I open my ledger and see the possibilities and the impossibilities, I think I am a little bit hopeful, because Ethiopia is not Abiy's and company private property. It is ours. Most of us are struggling, trying to resolve the problem in a dialogue, in a civilized, enlightened, comprehensive, all-inclusive dialogue. And the Ethiopian people are saying no. This is not what we expected from Abiy, and all the reform group people were celebrating about. So I think with all the balance, the Ethiopian people are ready, and the international community has started support, and the balance of power on the ground is is being changed in favor of the force of change, progress, and constitutionalism, and it gives me some hope in our future.
Better to end on that cheerful note. Ambassador Wondimu, thank you for taking the time to give us these interesting, insightful perspectives.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Well, we have come to the end of the interview. Thank you for watching, and this is goodbye from me and the technical crew.